Welcome to the Savvy Spirit Podcast. I'm Sharon Moore, your host and creator of the Savvy Spirit Entrepreneur Program. This podcast features conscious women entrepreneurs whose businesses are built on their unique gifts and are making the world a better place. You're going to learn about their journeys, their courage, their resilience, and their truth. So enjoy the show, feel the love, and get inspired. All right, so tonight we are going to be spending time with Michele Zehr. Michele is a healer, a do-gooder, just a force of kindness and divinity, if you ask me. She's the founder and executive director of Center for EarthBased Healing, as well as We Too. Center for EarthBased Healing provides survivors of sexual and physical abuse a positive and pivotal and transformative experience of healing. And her other organization, We Too, is an experiential empowerment that really encourages women to step into their true power and their true potential. So, wow, Michele, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I mean, I don't need to know you to obviously feel your investment, your commitment, your devotion to healing and healing of women. How did this happen? Was this something that you've always been working towards, or have you always been on this path? How did you land here?
Well, that's a really good question. It certainly was not something that I was born knowing for sure, but there's a couple of themes that ran through my life, which was I was always sort of an advocate for the underdog, and that lumped together with a master's degree in social justice education with an emphasis in women's and gender studies, and then my own experiences of being drawn into fields that were normally male-dominated. All of that combined together sort of informed where I am today as a healer and wanting to help women step into their power. It's time. It's time.
It's time, ladies. I feel it. I'm right there with you. And when you say male dominated, like what kind of things were you doing that were in traditionally a more male dominated role?
I was an automotive technician, an ASC certified automotive technician, and then I was Oklahoma State University's first and only, to my knowledge, woman to ever teach automotive technology education as a woman.
Oh my God, amazing.
And so that was one area, and then I was a United States Marine, and that's also, there's not a lot of women in the Marine Corps, and these weren't things that I was like, I have to go do this to prove anything. It's truly what I was drawn to. So, you have to listen to your heart, no matter if it goes against the cultural grain or not.
And so did you have experiences in these more male-dominated roles that kind of fueled you to empowering women to maybe not shy away from it? Or are those experiences things that have fueled you to doing exactly what you're doing today?
Absolutely. Although I would say when I was in the Marine Corps and working in the automotive industry, I couldn't put into words yet what I was like feeling was just kind of off. But it was that master's degree where I finally got the languaging that I needed to start talking about it. And, that really is what shifted my entire sort of concept of understanding what it means to be a woman who moves through this world in 2017.
As there's a long answer to that.
Yeah.
Tell me, what does Center for EarthBased Healing do?
So we are doing something that nobody else in the country is doing, and what we are doing is offering trauma-informed ecotherapy programs for survivors of sexual and domestic violence. And we offer our programs for free because we have a federal grant, and it is transformative, programs and healing, and they're very short programs, but I'm telling you, it's a huge privilege to do this work.
What does it mean, trauma-informed?
So it means that we take into consideration that trauma survivors have, certain things that are challenging for them and that they need to have power and control at all times in their lives. And so all of our programming, the way that we approach everything is very, very sensitive. So we actually follow the 6 principles of the National Institute for Trauma-Informed Care, and it's folded into the way that we do our programming. So it's a safe environment for trauma survivors just to show up exactly as they are.
And they get to go for free.
Yes, we legally can't charge them because we have a federal grant, but you know what? Our philosophy is that nobody should have to pay money to heal from something that was never their fault.
Amen. Absolutely. And so is that basically, would you say the majority of your time is spent getting these grants and getting the funding? or are you more in the operations and the program, or a little bit of everything?
Actually, I'm everything at this point. I have two part-time employees who have very specific jobs that, this is our very first year of federal grant funding, and, I'm learning the ropes as a new executive director, and what I have learned is that my job is to try to create a sense of order out of the chaos.
Oh, I am sure there are many people who relate to what you just said. Now, God, what strikes me right now is that, I often talk to business owners, and I myself am a business owner, and I've narrowed it down to 3 components that I believe are the winning formula, right? And what I mean by that is not just success, but deep fulfillment. And the first one of those is identifying, owning, and loving your unique gifts. Ultimately, that's our destiny. We need to use our gifts, right? And the second one is having trust in the universe, knowing that universe has your back. And the third one is, what's your relationship to the actual business skills, right? The marketing, the emails, the accounting, etc. And I'm just sitting here just thinking, I'm so happy that Michele discovered her unique gifts, because look what she is doing today with it. How lucky are we that you discovered your unique gifts and you had the courage to bring it out there?
How lucky am I is what I get to say, because, the way that I would describe that, it wasn't like I woke up and the universe just handed me like this bulleted list of what to do. The deal is this: you cannot ignore your heart. You cannot ignore it. And it was only because I was not willing to settle for the script that our culture handed me about what it meant to be successful. And I was not willing to settle for that. Because it wasn't making me happy. My heart wouldn't let me. And because I kept listening to my heart, that is what allowed me to take the kind of, all the radical steps I've taken in my life to discover my gifts. That's the only way to do it, is listen to your heart.
And so that's lovely. However, what happens when you're listening to your heart but fear creeps in? What did you do to overcome that?
So I refer to fear as the other 4-letter F word, because it's powerful. Honestly, it's probably the most powerful force, that will influence human behavior. So, you know what? My personal philosophy is I'm kind of a warrior. I've always been that way. Is the moment I identify a fear, I'm going to walk directly towards it to prove to myself that I'm even powerful enough to withstand whatever that journey is going to offer to me. And every single time I've done that, I have grown. Every single time. Wow.
And so do you, when you do that, are you, you're big into experiential stuff, right? Do you actually do something with your body? Are you embodying? You said warrior. I immediately envisioned you literally in the warrior pose. Like, do you do something with your body, or do you just kind of imagine and visualize yourself as a warrior?
Well, I think for me, it just feels like it's part of who I am, and it always has. But, the best thing I can do is to actually be grateful to my body and to take care of my body, because when you do walk into the fires of your worst fears, there is a whole embodied experience to that. And, it is hard. So it is about taking care of yourself, too. Yeah.
And as you do that, the more you take care of yourself, the more you are bringing to the world your unique set of gifts.
Absolutely. The only way to discover it is to go out there and experiment and just try things that feel right.
Right. Would you say that you got messages, childhood or even in your current day, that have encouraged you to continue to step into your unique gifts, or inhibited that?
Oh boy, that's a really good question. My personal experience, and I would hope I am not the norm, was that it was usually me on my own saying, I got to do this, and then having to go convince everybody else in my life that I was not crazy. So I got more messages that were inhibiting about what I should do as a woman and what I should be interested in or what I should look like or whatever than I did that was encouraging me to say, you know what, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah. I got to tell you, that is a common answer to that.
Yeah, I figured so.
Yeah. So let's go to the second component, which I call trust in the universe, right? Trust in something bigger than us, knowing that there is something at play here that is much bigger than us. And I love hearing about stories or experiences that you've had where you walked into the unknown, you walked into the uncomfortable, but you had an innate knowing that, you know what, you're going to be okay. You are taken care of. Can you tell me about a time that you experienced that?
Yeah, actually, it was when I decided to leave my last job working for somebody else. And when I did that, it was terrifying. Talk about fearful. And so I started We Too, Women's Experiential Empowerment, and I didn't quite know how this was going to work. I didn't quite know how I was going to replace the income. But I just knew, there was no other option. I had to do it. And lo and behold, shortly after I made that choice and that decision, not only did the job I was leaving offer me to do part-time work for 6 more months at home, all of a sudden, out of the blue, some consulting work came in, and it was the answer that I needed.
I love that so much. It is absolute surrender and creating space. And when you do that, look what happens. Look what actually fills the space.
So that's the deal, right? The way we want it to work is for us to be comfortable and for life to say, I guarantee you're going to get this if you do this. But it's the other way around. You have to do it, and that makes the space for life to show up with the miracles every time.
Oh my God. I love it. I love it. And, it's not that I'm not a person who surrenders and has faith, but I got to tell you, obviously, I'm in this life as well. So fear comes up. And the more I hear these stories, this is what gets me going, is hearing everybody's stories of, this is how the universe provided for me. It's a miracle.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to sit here and be one of these people that tries to say, it's so easy. I get up and it's just effortless. I go through, I'm human too. I feel fear. I have bad days. I struggle. But there is that, foundational knowing that I have in my heart that life has my back.
And again, I said this earlier, but I'm just so moved by what you do. And as a result, you are doing such good work for these women.
I get to get up every single day and do what I love. And who actually really gets to say that and mean it? And I worked very hard and went through a lot of trials and, went through a lot of terrifying times, but I wouldn't give up on my heart's passion. And now I get to do what I love.
I love it. I love it. Speaking of love, do you love business skills? Do you love business plans and marketing plans and emails and accounting and database management? How are you? What's your relationship to those kind of quote unquote business skills?
Yeah, my relationship to those skills have changed over the years. So this is a perfect example of how if you trust life prepares you to be exactly where you are in any given moment. So I didn't know it at the time, but I had worked as a bookkeeper at one point in my life. My mother was a bookkeeper, and so she taught me some skills. And so by the time I got to the point of needing to know how to set up a business and how to set up my books, I had the skills. So, I know how to do all of that. I'm not great at marketing, but I took a little business course, which is why these kinds of things are needed, by the way. I don't want to go get a degree in it, but I just needed a little bit of information. And so I'm kind of a one-woman show on that front right now. However, I am now finding myself wanting to hand more of that off and delegate it so I can be more in the creative space.
Yeah.
But, all good things will come in their time. It's not quite time for that yet.
And there's your trust. There is your trust. We just got to experience it live, folks, right here.
Right.
And yeah, what I like about that is, you recognize, I'm not crazy about marketing. I'll do it a little bit. I'm going to trust that I'm going to know when the time is to let it go, because I know that it takes me away from my actual serving of the people I want to be serving.
Yeah. It's a different kind of energy that kind of stuff requires. And, I also don't get too stressed about I'm not doing everything that I see everybody else doing with, all the GoFundMe stuff. Like, I know the universe will guide me to my marketing plan. And so I have my trust goes to those levels.
Oh, you just put a smile on my face. I also like this, there's this thing that somehow everything threads together so nicely. The way you were talking about, guess what? I was a bookkeeper at one point. I didn't know why at the point, but now I know why, and it makes perfect sense.
Oh, it's miraculous. And, I think in our lives, we've got to slow down and take the time to reflect and actually have some gratitude for the miraculous way in which life weaves our stories together, because I certainly could not have put this story together the way it's unfolded in my life.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great reminder even for me. You just kind of made me think about, how often am I actually slowing down? How often do I really, truly create space for something to show up?
Yeah, create the space to show up, create the space to have gratitude, create the space to actually recognize that, you know what, I might be stressed out about XYZ right now, but I've had a pretty miraculous and amazing run of it all up to this point. So how could I not trust life, right?
Beautiful. Well said. How do people find out about you? What, if there are people who are listening who would like to come to one of your programs or be empowered by you, do they have to be local? Do you work with people over the phone? Like, tell us everything. If people are interested in either one of your organizations, how do they learn more and how do they get involved?
All right. So for the Center for Earth-Based Healing, you can go to our website, which is www.earthbasedhealing.org. So that's all one word. You can find out all about our programs there. And for We Too, Women's Experiential Empowerment, you can go to the website www.we, which is WE, and then the number 2, and then the word empower. So we2empower.com. And everything is up there on the website about the services I offer. And, I can do remote sessions and soul weaving empowerment sessions. I'm open to that. So, I kind of just work with the individual and see what wants to happen there. So, everybody can contact me in those areas, and I would love to hear from folks.
And there it was again. Once again, we get to see how you embody the trust and the openness. One thing you didn't mention, which I find so intriguing, is that I noticed in your Center for Earth-Based Healing, you also work with healers who work with survivors. Is that true?
That is something that is about to come into form, in fact.
Okay.
It's a program that I had an idea for that, working with trauma survivors, it's incredibly rewarding, but it's also very, very hard work. It's emotionally difficult. It just takes a lot. So my question was, who's taking care of us, the healers? Who's honoring our sacred work?
Seriously.
So that's another program that we are in development right now to allow the healers who work with trauma survivors to come together and have some self-care, and then also learn about trauma-informed ecotherapy so they can take that back and use that with their clients. So the name of the camp is Camp Serona, and I'm currently talking to a group of women right now who are going to help me get this thing. We may actually offer the first camp this year, but probably next summer of 2019, almost for sure, but maybe summer of 2018.
And is that also federally funded?
No, this is the thing about this camp is that we have to find a different funding source for it because we can't use federal funds for training, not particular federal funds that I have. So, it's again, trust the universe that if this camp wants to come to fruition, that those answers will come. And so far, this is how I've navigated this whole adventure, and you know what? It's happening. So there you go.
It just puts such a smile on my face because, I can ask, and I ask a lot of women, tell me how you've trusted, and I hear about a beautiful story. But in this particular interview, you embody your trust. And I think it's such a good, it's such a good experience for us to see that sometimes we don't need to force clarity. We can also just say, you know what, it's going to unfold the way it's going to unfold, and I trust in it. I felt so comforted hearing you say that. I didn't feel like, I wish I had a clear answer.
You know what? I have windows, a lot of windows in my house, and I write things to remind myself. And a couple of the things that are written on my windows right now are 2 mantras, and one of them is rest and let it come. And then the other one is don't react to life, respond.
Michele, you're amazing. And as much as I could talk to you for hours, and I got to tell you, even just talking to you over the phone, I feel more space even in my own, like the sound of my voice. I'll re-listen to this, but I really do feel like I started talking slower. So I can see that you have this impact on women who are in your space and how lucky they are.
Much.
Yeah. So we do have to close up, but I just wanted to open up the mic and see if you've got anything, any kind of words of wisdom or support or cheerleading. Many of our listeners are either women whose businesses are in a time of transition when maybe they're changing their products or services, or women who are just now stepping into starting their business. So what words of wisdom would you like to share with them?
Yeah, so probably one thing is the moment you identify a fear, trust yourself and trust life that fear is there to teach you something. It doesn't mean don't go that direction.
Beautiful. Thank you. Michele, you are doing amazing work in the world. Thank you on behalf of all of humanity for doing what you do.
Thanks so much, Sharon. It's been a real privilege to talk with you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And just for everybody, so you know, we will include links and her bio in the episode notes, so you'll be able to follow up with her. All right, good night.
Good night.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. I hope you feel inspired and connected and alive. And hey, if you enjoyed the show today, leave us a review. And if you want more, you can also find us online at thesavvyspirit.com or on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Okay, my friends, it is time to say goodbye. I wish you a good night, a good morning, a good day, wherever you are on this earth. I wish you well, and I'll see you next week.